And joining us now to talk about the response of the Muslim community in America and here in New Jersey to Donald Trump's call for, quote, a total and complete shutdown of Muslim entering the United States is Jim Sues, Executive Director of the New Jersey chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. Jim, welcome.
Thank you.
Jim, I have to ask you, first of all, when did you become a Muslim?
About 20 years ago.
How did that happen?
Yeah. I used to work for IBM. I had a coworker who was a Egyptian Muslim, and at one point we entered into a theological debate. The debate lasted over a couple of months.
You were a Christian?
I was raised Episcopalian. Mm-hmm. And essentially I lost the debate, though I don't consider it a loss, I have to tell you that.
Okay. Well, Jim, tell us from your personal experience and as the head of this organization, what's been the response by the Muslim community to what Donald Trump said, and what's been the effect on the Muslim community?
Well, it's kind of shocking, and it's disheartening. It does create tension and fear and apprehension in the community to think that a public figure like Donald Trump could say something like that. And there is a little bit of fear of backlash, and there has been some backlash that I think that we can attribute to some degree to Donald Trump, though there have been some violent events lately that would contribute to that. But I think that when a person of that stature who's running for president sort of green lights that kind of thought and thinking, then we end up with the kinds of toxic atmosphere that we have now.
Yeah, so Jim, Ref and I, have been doing this for a while, and we made a decision journalistically, excuse me, a long time ago, we were not going to engage in watching the presidential race as people who do the horse race thing. So polls are taken, debates take place. We're at the end of 2015 as we do this program, moving into 16. Last poll I looked at, which is not about the race, but is more about public sentiment. 6 out of 10 people who say they're going to vote in the Republican primary agreed with Donald Trump's statement.
And his numbers went up, in fact, after he made the statement,
at
rather
that time,
than the other.
We don't know what's going to happen after that.
Yeah.
That's 6 in 10 Republicans who vote in the primary agreed with the statement. Says what to you?
No, that's a very disappointing statement about the.
Is that the word you want to go with,
life.
Disappointing?
Well, it's.
Is it more than that?
Yeah, it's frightening. It's frightening. It's shocking. Basically his statement, his proposal as far as banning Muslims is ignorant on the face of it. It's not constitutional. It's probably not logistically feasible.
Is it un-American?
And it's un-American.
Is it against the Constitution?
It's against the Constitution.
So 6 in 10 people who say they're going to vote in the Republican primary are in favor of a position that is un-American, unconstitutional, not workable, and the reason you believe they are supportive of such a position is?
Well, if you strip all that away, about all that's left is bigotry. I mean, they are fearful and apprehensive about a minority in this country that are different, and they talk differently, they dress differently, they are of a different faith community, and the result is bigotry. Because
is it bigotry, or is it what you said earlier, which is a response to 2 violent acts?
Fear.
What you were talking about was the 2 terrorist attacks in Paris and San Bernardino,
right,
and it's
right.
fear. People are afraid. They don't have to be bigots to be afraid. They could be foolish and be afraid, right?
Okay, you could be foolish and be afraid, and it is, okay, so let's say it's foolishness.
And let's say it's because of the attacks, rather than, he added fuel to a fire that was already there.
He definitely fanned the flames of fire that was there. I mean, obviously, these feelings about Muslims in particular had to exist. I think that they may have been latent. I mean, obviously there were people all along that had, there's been discrimination against Muslims for decades, and that's essentially why our organization exists. We wouldn't exist if that didn't happen. But now we can put a number on it, because you can take a proposal that is ignorant and see who will support that proposal.
But Jim, after 9/11, people were expecting this kind of thing to explode. It didn't. Americans actually didn't become, fearful. It didn't manifest this kind of thing after 9/11. And in fact, religious bigotry is mostly against Jews still, rather than Muslims in this country. Right. So I'm wondering if it's because they're ignorant of what the Muslim community has done, and it's being done to the Muslim community by the terrorist himself, that the Muslims are the #1 victims of terrorism, that the Muslims have actually responded against terrorism in this country, but we don't hear much about it. I wonder if there's that ignorance.
Well, there's that, and we have many Muslims organizations, including CAIR, have gone out and held press conferences and issued press releases and condemned these acts in no uncertain terms. I think there's a big difference between what happened in the aftermath of 9/11 and what happened in the aftermath of these two latest attacks. And that is, after 9/11, George Bush and other politicians and public figures who people respect came out and said, we are not at war with Islam. We must be sure not to blame all Muslims for these acts.
That happened after Trump said what he did.
Right, but Trump still stood by what he said. And there are still other Republicans who are proposing ideas that are similar and making similar types of comments. Ben
But there's
Carson.
been a lot of Republicans who have condemned him, even the head of Congress.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Ryan said
Ryan.
it was un-American. It's not what the Republican Party stands for.
Right.
And
The
bottom
Speaker
line-
of the House. I forgot
Speaker of the
his
House.
title. Yeah.
But here's the thing, the limited time we have left. Where do we go from here?
Yeah.
I mean, forget about presidential politics. Where do we go from here in terms of the relationship that most Americans want to have with the Muslim community?
What we need to do is create an environment where people are open to understanding the other. I think that American Muslims do make an effort to try and understand their American neighbors and partners, and it's up to the American people who are not Muslims to try and understand the American Muslims. There's actually, in some parts of this country, an effort to suppress that understanding. In some areas of this country, there will be a social studies course which will include the topic of Islam in the curriculum, and there are parents who are opposing that be taught and consider that indoctrination.
Can you understand the fear most Americans are feeling right now toward Islamic extremism?
I understand the fear. I understand the fear.
Can you understand it being directed at all Muslims and making that connection as illogical as it is?
It's illogical and it's unfortunate. And I think that what we, besides the fact that the public on their own should overcome that fear and reach out and try and understand Islam, I think we do need the public figures who people look for their cues, like Donald Trump, Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, to stand up for what is right, what is American.
And can Muslim leaders do more in this country to set the record straight about where they stand, how they too are victims, and how they also oppose terrorism?
I guess they could do more. I see a lot of the effort. I don't think a lot of the American public necessarily sees the effort because it's not that, it's not as newsworthy as an explosion or.
I want to ask you one more thing. I know we've gone over time, but it's incredibly important. Could you see statements like Trump's and others who support his position of a total ban or even a close to a total ban on all Muslims coming into the United States, creating an environment that would allow more Muslims who would otherwise not be in a position to be
Antagonistic.
radicalized, to use that term. I don't even like that, to radicalized, more likely being in a position to be radicalized because of this response?
Yeah, unfortunately, there's a possible equation that says that I've got a public figure and a number of people that are accepting that proposal, that follow that public figure, and the message is, you're not wanted, go home. And the message from people that try to radicalize American Muslims is, you're not wanted there, come home, come here, you're wanted here.
The answer is yes. You just said yes.
Yes, there's a slight possibility that there is that factor to the equation.
Which clearly would not be and could not be what Trump and others who support that position would ever want. And would
No.
never acknowledge that that would be a potential unintended consequence.
No, and another unintended consequence is that outside of the United States, America is now looking much less free and open and wonderful than it is here.
Jim, thank you for joining us.